This is Doug Fine coming at you as hemp prepares to return to humanity and in particular to the United States. Here in Oregon today with just a few weeks until hemp seeds go in the ground in the historic first legal harvest season for the Beaver State. Worldwide and nationwide, the hemp industry is growing in double digits, and this is just the part of a fantastic economy that's going to be good for everything from the nation's economy to energy security to humanity's ninth inning climate change mitigation battle. So first things first, got to get those phytoremediating, economy-providing seeds into the ground, and I'm with Oregon's first hemp farming permittee in the new millennium, Edgar Winters. Edgar, are we going to get these hemp seeds in the ground this season? It seems to be an evolving situation by the day.
Oh, thanks, Doug. I do hope so. We've been after this now for 75 years, and I think we're going to be able to do it. As a matter of fact, there are people in the state right now who actually have some seeds in the ground for experimental purposes under 7606, and that's why we're here today. We're wanting to promote 7606 because that's basically the only way we can do this first year under an experimental program under the federal guidelines of the federal government and our local state agencies, Department of Agriculture and Oregon State University. We've been working hand in hand with those guys, and they have promised that we are going to be able to get some seeds in the ground this spring. We're about 2 weeks away from really a first planting. I don't know if we'll get them in by that time, but one thing about hemp, it only takes about 4 months. So if we even started in June, we'll probably get a good crop in by September. So I'm hoping that we will be able to get those seeds in the ground.
The situation now is this middle ground. The 7606 you're referring to is a federal farm bill provision from last year that allows cultivation of hemp as long as it's a state that itself has hemp cultivation permits and the research is done under the auspices of a state agriculture department and or an institution of higher learning. Oregon falls under that category, but the way that the programs are being implemented vary from state to state, and the Oregon situation is really coming down to the wire. In 2+ decades of journalism, this is the most exciting thing that I've ever covered and been part of, because so much is riding on it. I mean, if you just want to keep it bottom line terms, the Canadian industry, the hemp industry in Canada just to the north of here is going to pass $1 billion in value this year. That's something that Oregon's farmers need. Kentucky being a year ahead, I have another project in Kentucky where I think, since we're doing our seed ordering for that project, it's going to be pretty darn smooth sailing getting those seeds in. Here in Oregon, it's coming down to the wire because once all the agreements and arrangements that have to be made to implement seed ordering, we're done with the permits. We're ready to go in Oregon. The things that have to happen to get the seeds imported into the nation, since cannabis prohibition tragically erased our seed stock, domestic seed stock, they really have to come together, and they have to come together quickly here in this next week in mid-April, because I'll let the farmer tell it, you can't be planting much past June 1st.
Yeah, and normally the weather here in Oregon has been so nice for the last 3 years that we could actually plant it over a month ago. We could have had seeds already in the ground, but we didn't get a chance to do that, and I'm hoping we'll still get the chance to do that. We can do it on a smaller scale. It might be a ceremonial type event, but that's at least we're getting the seeds in the ground, and that's the first step. And as a farmer, I represent 10 to 20 other farmers in the state who are really wanting to grow hemp themselves, but they just don't know the procedures and how to do it. So they're calling, emailing me, our company, and wanting to know what procedures they need to do to get involved with industrial hemp. And the first thing I tell them, and I'm sure Doug will say the same thing, that you need to go to the State Department and get your license. You need to fill out that application, pay that $1,500, and hope that you will be able to grow seeds. But by being on the sidelines, you don't really have a say-so in it. You can say what you want, but if you're not on the register, you're going to be left out. So I encourage all farmers in this state and other states that are going to be growing hemp to do what the Department of Agriculture says we have to do, and go through the guidelines and go through all the regulations and permits, ceremonials to get this going. And that's what I've done. I've tried to make sure that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's, and we want to be able to be successful our first year in Oregon, and we don't want to have people calling back and saying, well, why did it not happen? So there's a lot of education and training needs to be involved with this as well, and that's why we're here today to present to you that there is a viable connection with industrial hemp here in Oregon. We have been obligated to grow it, so I want to do my obligation and grow this hemp, not only for humanity but for my companies as well, because we buy our products from Canada, and sometimes our freight is more than the product that we're actually buying, and you know you can't be in business like that. You're going to lose in the end. So it's a love hate situation for me, but I'm all for it. I have both of my feet involved, and I know Doug for years. He's had both of his feet as a foot soldier in this new evolution, and I do hope that we'll be able to do it this spring.
So why is this such an important story right now for all Oregonians to know, if not the world who's watching Oregon, in terms of how this has evolved?
That's a good question.
The hemp story is, from a journalistic perspective, one of the most interesting stories to cover that's come along in a long time. We talked about already the bottom line value of the industry worldwide is already a multi-billion-dollar industry that's growing double digits. I spoke at the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance conference this year, and they're dancing a jig up there. They can't keep up with demand for the hemp plant, especially when it's grown organically, for the nutritive seed oil and omega balanced superfood, as well as for nutraceuticals derived from the flower. And we're going to be doing a lot of fiber applications here in our projects in Oregon. There are plants being built to make Oregon energy independent from plant biomass, including hemp. It's a hugely important economic story and an environmental story. We really need to resolve the logistical issues. On the one hand, it's frustrating. All of a sudden, I'm talking, since I care so much about hemp and I eventually want to plant hemp, I'm coming to this as a frustrated that bureaucratic entanglements are keep things moving more slowly than they should. On the other hand, a farmer like Edgar's permit is for 3 years, and so each season is a step forward. I'm going to take the Muhammad Ali approach here, and I'm not going to say anything about ceremonial. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say no ceremonial planting. This is going to be not a commercial planting. This is going to be a substantive research planting in anticipation of full commercial hemp legalization next year in 2016. And we're going to learn a lot this year, and we're going to do marketing research and all kinds of research that OSU wants to do. We're going to get this done and make this industry grow.
Well said, and I'll reiterate all of that. Farmers, right now, they're kind of depressed on their crops. They don't really make any money anymore on growing different fruits and vegetables. So I was very surprised at the connection of all these farmers who are actually more involved with the hemp than I actually thought they would be. They know a lot. They need a little bit more guidance. And as the first licensee here in Oregon, I want to be able to help all of those farmers because they're in the dark on a lot of issues and they don't have a lot of money to spend, and they're afraid that if they did get their permit that they wouldn't be able to get the seeds in the ground. So it's a kind of a catch-22 for them, and they're needing more guidance, and that's why we're here today, and hopefully we can have some more educational benefits for those farmers and anyone else that wants to be in the processing of industrial hemp, because it's just not growers or farmers, it's processors, it's handlers, it's so many different avenues that we could venture into this industrial hemp crop. And so we want everybody on board, and I myself, I will do anything that's possibly under my power to direct all the future farmers of Oregon that please, if you're interested in growing industrial hemp, go to the Department of Agriculture website, get their application form, fill it out, and then you'll be on board. And then as soon as we do get these seeds, you'll be one of the first that we'll call to get your allotment for them seeds.
I'm so glad you mentioned the farmers as well, because more broadly speaking, as a journalist, I've never seen anything like this in terms of a cross-aisle, cross-platform agreement. Yesterday we were out there at the putative site of the farm that we're part of, and the fellow that was one of the managers, Dan, came up to us, and he is not what you call someone that owns a lava lamp and wears a lot of tie-dyes. This is a person who has lived in Josephine County for generations, and we're on the same page. Completely. Our playbook's the same. It seems like this is an issue that's good for all Oregonians. Don't you think? All Oregonian farmers, especially.
Exactly, exactly. Because without the farmers, you have no product, and without the seeds, we don't have a product for the farmers to have a product. So it's something that we need to really discuss openly and transparent, and make the world realize that, hey, this is not a new commodity. It's an old new technology, but it's not a new commodity. This has been around for thousands of years, and we need to get back to that plant, because it is still the King Kong plant of all plant kingdoms, in my opinion.
And the Oregon leadership, political leadership, are they helping out?
We are really lucky here in Oregon to have unparalleled support from our political representatives on all levels for the return of the hemp plant. It's a very important issue to Senator Wyden. He sends out mailings to constituents about the importance of hemp, and he is one of the introducers of the full commercial legalization that so badly needs to happen. Let us hope this session, everybody please support the Industrial Hemp Farming Act of 2015, co-sponsored by both of Oregon senators and both of Kentucky senators. So we're very thankful for that. And on the state level, the state's working very hard with the final pieces to put into place logistically. I won't overwonk this, but in order to get the seeds in from Europe, we need to make sure that we have the same kind of understanding between federal and state agencies that a state like Kentucky has, who's been through the drill last year. We want to get it right the first year. And the reason it's down to the wire is, even once we have those agreements, which have to be processed much quicker than they have been traditionally, it takes several weeks to get approved seed shipped from Europe. And my folks are waiting, and we need to make it happen. And the state support continues to be vital, and we're getting it, so we're very appreciative.
Yeah, I'll also add that time is of essence here, and if we don't do this now, it's like buying a piece of real estate property. People can draw back and not get involved, but if you really want to purchase a piece of property, you got to put a contract agreement down, and that's what we're trying to do here. The state has done that. They're a little in the dark on certain issues, but at least we know that they are on board, and we're not out here alone. And I want to do this the right way, the government way, and I want to follow all the guidelines of 575, the Farm Bill 575, 7606. And as long as we continue on with that program, I don't see why we cannot be successful our first year with growing industrial hemp here in Oregon.
And I'm so glad Edgar mentioned the farmers. First of all, he's, too humble to mention it and happy to do it, I'm sure, but Edgar has put in thousands of dollars of investment into his permits, into his land, into equipment, and preparing the land already. And so that's something that, we need to honor. And even bigger than that, we're talking about a huge industry here, a really big economic return that's going to be good for Oregon and the U.S. and humanity. So it's a win-win that we really have to get this right and make the hemp industry work. It's that important, and it's that big a story.